The Messerschmitt BF-109 was at the time of its construction the fastest and most powerful airplane in the sky. The British feared it, the French feared it, and just about everyone else. There was no match for it. The tale of the BF-109 started all the way back in 1933, with the first actual war-ready plane built in 1937, named the BF-109 fucking goddamn it. There was no match for it. The tale of the BF-109 Messerschmitt variant started all the way back in 1933, with the first actual war-ready plane built in 1937, named the BF-109 Dubendorendor during 1933. During 1933, the Technische Amt, or SEAMT, the Technical Department of Rijksluchtvaartministerium, RLM or Reich Aviation Ministry, concluded a series of research projects into the future of air combat. The results of the studies was 4 broad outlines for future aircraft. Rüstungsflugzeug 1 for a multi-seat medium bomber, Rüstungsflugzeug 2 for a tactical bomber, Rüstungsflugzeug 3 for a single-seat fighter, and Rüstungsflugzeug 4 for a 2-seat heavy fighter. Also, before we continue, sorry for butchering these words, I am not German. Rüstungsflugzeug 3 was intended to be a short-range interceptor, replacing the Arado AR-64 and the Heinkel HG-51 biplanes then in service. In late March 1933, the RLM published the tactical requirements for a single-seat fighter in the document LA 1432-33. The fighter needed to have a top speed of 400 km an hour, or 250 miles per hour, at 6,000 meters, or 19,690 feet, to be maintained for 20 minutes while having a total flight duration of 19 minutes. The critical altitude of 6,000 meters was to be reached in no more than 17 minutes, and the fighter was to have an operational ceiling of 10,000 meters. Or 700 horsepower. It was to be armed with either a single 20mm MG C-30 engine-mounted cannon firing through the propeller hub as a Motorkanonen, or 2 engine cowl-mounted 7.92 mm .312 in MG-17 machine guns, or 1 lightweight engine-mounted 20mm MG FF cannon with 2 7.92mm MG-17s. The MG C-30 was an airborne adaptation of the 2cm Flak 30 anti-aircraft gun, which fired a very powerful long Sologern ammunition, but it was very heavy and had a low rate of fire. It was also specified that the wing load shouldn't be kept below 100 kg per square meter. The performance was to be evaluated based on the fighter's level speed, rate of climb, and maneuverability in that order. It has been suggested that Bayerische Flugzeugwerke, or BFW, was originally not invited to participate in the competition due to personal animosity between Willy Messerschmitt and RLM director Erhard Mitsch. However, recent research by Willy Radinger and Walter Schick indicates that this may not have been the case, as all 3 competing companies, Arado, Heinkel, and BFW, received development contracts for the LA 1432-33 requirements at the same time in February 1934. A 4th company, Focke-Wulf, received a copy of the development contract only in September 1944. The power plant was to be the new Junkers Jumo 210, but the proviso was made that it would be interchangeable with the more powerful but less developed Daimler-Benz DB600 power plant. Each was asked to deliver 3 prototypes for head-to-head testing in late 1934. As the earlier BF-108, the new design was based on Messerschmitt's lightweight construction principle, which aimed to minimize the number of separate parts in the aircraft. Examples of this can be found in the use of 2 large complex brackets, which were fitted to the firewall. These brackets incorporated the lower engine mount landing gear pivot point into one unit. A large forging attached to the firewall housed the main spar pickup points and carried most of the wing loads. Contemporary design practice was usually to have these main load-bearing structures mounted on different parts of the airframe, with the loads being distributed throughout the structure via a series of strong points. By concentrating the loads in the firewall, the structure of the BF-109 can be made relatively light and uncomplicated. An advantage of this design was that the main landing gear, which retracted through an 85-degree angle, was attached to the fuselage, making it possible to completely remove the wings for servicing without additional equipment to support the fuselage. It was also allowed simplification of the wing structure, since it did not have to bear the loads imposed during takeoff or landing. The one major drawback of this landing gear arrangement was its narrow wheel track, making the aircraft unstable while on ground. To increase stability, the legs were sprayed outward somewhat, creating another problem in that the loads imposed during takeoff and landing were transferred up through the legs at an angle. The small rudder of the BF-109 was relatively ineffective at controlling the strong swing created by the powerful slipstream of the propeller during the early portion of takeoff roll, and this sideways drift created disproportionate loads on the wheels opposite to the swing. If the force imposed were large enough, the pivot point broke and landing gear leg would collapse outward into its bay. Experienced pilots reported that the swing was easy to control, but some of the less experienced pilots lost fighters on takeoff. Because of the large ground angle caused by long legs, forward visibility while on ground was very poor, a problem exacerbated by the sideways opening canopy. This was meant that pilots had to taxi in a sinuous fashion, which also imposed stresses on the splayed undercarriage legs. Ground accidents were a problem with rookie pilots, especially during the later stages of the war when the pilots received less training before being sent to operational units. At least 10% of all BF-109s were lost in takeoff and landing accidents, 1,500 of which occurred between 1939 and 1945. The installation of the fixed tall tail wheel on some of the late G10s and 14s and the K series helped alleviate the problem to a large extent.